Good evening. I'm weirdly nervous, but welcome to this stream. We've not done one quite like this before. This is a book launch stream. My name is Jamie Sands, and this is Gillian St Kevern.
Hi, I'm Gillian St Kevern. It is my pleasure to be interviewing Jamie today in celebration of the launch of Jamie's newest book. Yay! Oh my gosh, you've got a print copy?
Yeah, I ordered the print copies 2 weeks ago because I knew it would take time and I wanted them for Armageddon. So I had these before the book actually launched because I think it's launching about now, depending on time. So it's a little wee book. But yeah,
I'm just going to go and check and see if I've got your pre-order has arrived email yet. Let's have a look.
Let's see. It's got little snowflakes as paragraph breaks. Oh, you can kind of see it there. I'm just going to warn you right now that I might have to duck out and feed a cat. Pokey hasn't come in for dinner at the normal time. So at some point, she's probably going to come and yell at me, and I'll have to go and feed her, but it'll only take a couple of minutes.
Hi, Ada. Very good. It's also congratulating Jamie on the book launch is Tota. Yeah.
Yay!
I fed Tota and Cookie early so they would not interrupt us during the
this lot here is Care Bear.
Oh, we've got Care Bear on the stream. Oh, that's exciting.
He's sleeping and facing away, but he's here and he's supportive.
We love a supportive cat. Right now, Cookie is behind the baby gate in the living room, and Tota cannot, with her entire existence, it's just like...
Okay, Pokey's just walked in and yowled, so
yeah.
How about you chat for a second and I will be right back.
Yeah. So Santa's Sacking is a Christmas story that Jamie is launching at the end of May, which we will talk about. But yeah, it's really cool to be able to celebrate with Jamie, especially as writers. I don't think we take the opportunity to celebrate our successes, and having a book out, particularly a book that Jamie worked on. I remember them writing it. Oh gosh, I hope you guys can't hear what's going on in the background here. But Jamie has been writing the story and editing it in our Saturday and Sunday morning live streams. So getting to the end and celebrating with Jamie, it feels like a group accomplishment in a way, but no, it is Jamie's accomplishment, and we're just gonna celebrate them tonight. Make sure that the launch is the absolute best launch it can be. And now we've got a dog drinking as noisily as possible over in the corner. Oh, it would not be a Jamie and Gillian live stream without chaotic pets. So yeah, I've got some questions to ask Jamie. We're going to do a bit of an interview and chat about the book, and then I'm hoping that Jamie's going to read a chapter of it for us. But the story is super cute. It has a really hilarious origin story and some of the absolute cutest characters that I have ever read. I had the privilege of editing this, so I am not objective in any way, shape, or form. But yeah, I think it's a really cute book, and I am excited for it to be out in the world. I'm just going to check my email again because this is about the time that we usually get those Amazon order. No, okay. This is just my order details. Sadness. But yay.
I had to feed both cats because Care Bear got jealous that Pokey was being fed dinner and we'd only given him a little and he was still hungry, so.
Yep.
Cat parent life.
Yep. Yay. So I'm ready to jump into the interview if you are.
Let's do it.
I've got questions prepared, but you can ask questions in the chat or leave questions in the Discord. Oh my gosh. That mug.
I'm not going to tip it because it's full, but it says Hamilton down the side and then that on both sides. And in the bottom, when you've finished your drink, there's a little Hamilton logo.
Brilliant.
Sorry. Please continue.
Okay, Jamie, pretend for a moment that we don't know who you are. Could you please, first of all, introduce yourself and what you write, and then tell us why you write the who, what, why of Jamie Sands or Jackson Knight or Drake Lamarck?
All of the above. My name's Jamie, and I write, as you say, under Jackson and Drake as well. I've got 3 different pen names for 3 different genres. So under my own name, I write optimistic urban fantasy, short stories. I write role-playing games sometimes, that kind of thing. And then under Jackson Knight, I do rom-coms. So sweet with heat, or actually just sweet with no heat. Very kind of Hallmark movie, tropey, fluffy stuff, all gay. And then under Drake, I write the smut. So usually paranormal, usually a bit historical, and just a lot of men.
Yay.
Getting it on. So I'm from Wellington, but I'm living in Auckland now, and I'm non-binary. And what else is interesting about me? I've been adopted by 2 cats, and I'm a bluey enthusiast.
Yeah, this is not relevant to the interview, but did I tell you that Bandit Healer was suggested to me as a Facebook page? And I am now following Bandit Healer on Facebook.
Excellent choices.
Yeah. Okay, so Jamie, you said the who you are and the what you write, but yes, the why.
So
the very
why?
Important why.
So because I've always dreamed about being a writer. I remember being like 8 or 9 years old and writing a piece in creative writing and reading it out to the little group of kids that I guess were at the same level as me, and them all just kind of staring at me like, oh, and we go, oh, I've got power of words. I love this. So I kept writing through my teen years. It was mostly poetry, and in university as well, I did a creative writing course in poetry. But then I realized that I actually don't like poetry that much, and I switched to novels. But I sort of thought in my 20s, I thought I'll try some stuff out, but I'm mostly going to focus on like life experience and reading as widely as I can. So in my 30s, I started taking it seriously. And what I want is to be able to fully support myself as a writer and keep doing this creative work. But I also want to write stuff that makes people feel included and accepted and somewhat normalized because I went to the Romance Writers Convention of New Zealand, which is where I met both of you, and you, Gillian and Ada in the comments. And, that's where the money is, it felt like. And so I was like, well, I want to write romance then. I've always watched romance, like romantic movies and stuff. I know the tropes, but I didn't want to just write something straight. I wanted to do some gay rep. And so I started off with the Jackson Knight books, the Fairyland romances, because sweet romance is a huge thing in heterosexual romance, but it's really not in gay and romance, MM. So I tried it out as an experiment, and then I just got hooked because as I've been watching romance movies my whole life and romantic comedies, and it just is so easy for me to write in that space because I know, this is what should happen next. This is what should happen next, And I love creating these characters that are unusual for whatever reason and having them find their happy ever after. So like, I've got characters with anxiety and characters with like PTSD and stuff, that are gay as well and can eventually find their happiness. So I really had that consolidated with my book, Onesies and Ouija Boards, which is a young adult book with no romance, actually. it's an urban fantasy with a non-binary lead character. I've just realized I haven't plugged in the power to my laptop. And had incredibly good feedback from non-binary tweens and teens about that rep and how much it meant to them. And, you know, I immediately got fan art, that kind of thing.
Yeah, it must be so amazing knowing that something you have created has struck such a powerful chord with people.
Exactly, yeah.
Oh, hey, we've got Fran here saying congratulations.
Oh, never mind.
And we had a quick glimpse
Thank you.
of the fan art.
I have a piece of fan art that has fallen off the wall. But there's another one here. So that's Arrow there from One Season Ouija Boards, the lead character drinking bubble tea. And up here is a picture of Jungkook from BTS, because the artist who drew this knows that I love BTS.
That is very sweet. Fantastic.
And just knowing that, you know, a lot of rep for especially non-binary characters is about like trauma and bullying and trying to fight for your identity. And I just went, no, I don't want to do that. I want to have a character who is non-binary, and that's not the problem. And that's what I did with One Season Ouija Boards, and that's kind of what I did with this too.
Yeah. I have a question that I was going to ask you about the non-binary representation, but I kind of feel we've touched on that already. So just sticking with the non-binary representation, did you sort of feel like the lack of kind of non-binary stories like you described, where being MB is no issue, were you like, okay, this is a lack that I must fill, or did it just sort of happen accidentally?
No, it was definitely intentional, because I only came to understand what non-binary was, you know, when I was maybe 35 or 36, not quite 10 years ago, but I never had the words for it. I didn't know. And when I was a really little kid, I just thought I wanted to be a boy, you know, and no one understood that in the 80s, and it all got shut down, like, you know, so I was like, okay, well, whatever. But once I read those words and the definitions, I was like, light bulb. And I wanted to create something that would give that light bulb to people way earlier in life than I had, and just make it, you know, a positive story, so that someone could enjoy it, because there really isn't a lot. There's more now, because that was published, early last year. It's becoming more common, but there's still not a lot that isn't about, especially in young adult sphere, that isn't about, you know, finding myself and having to deal with parents who don't understand, and, you know, pain. So I'm trying to counteract that.
Yeah, and this is a mission that is extremely close to my heart.
Yeah.
So for a moment, when you said it wasn't until I didn't really understand what non-binary meant until, for a moment, I thought you were going to say until you, Ada, and I did that presentation at the
no, it was before then. I already had my they them t-shirt by that point. It was actually before I moved. It was a while. It was pretty soon after a big life change for me. And I was spending a lot of time on Tumblr, and that's how I found out. Tumblr.
Yeah, well, it was a comic shared on Facebook for me. So.
Oh wow, yeah. And you just never know, right? You never know what's going to hit. So I just thought the more I put out, like, the more normal it is. And if I can make people care about a character that they don't necessarily understand, then that's hopefully seeding some good in the world.
One day you're going to get an email from a reader, and I want to say right now, I'm calling dibs on this. You're going to get an email being from a reader saying, oh my gosh, I read Santa's Sacking and I discovered that I'm non-binary.
I mean, maybe. It's one downfall, actually, to having characters being non-binary and it not being an issue means I don't delve into it a whole lot. Like, there aren't paragraphs and paragraphs of Darian kind of working out what it means to them, or what their gender really is, because they've already dealt with it. They've already come to grips with it. So there's a bit really early on when they first meet Connor, Connor's his name, right? I just said
It's Connor.
Oh my
It
god.
is Connor.
And it's just like, hey, these are my pronouns. And this is how I identify. And Connor, because Connor's amazing, is just like, cool. And I'm he, him. You know, so it's not like a big long explanation. So in some ways I'm like, will I get that? Because maybe I don't go into it enough to explain it to people. But it would be nice. It would be nice.
Yeah, I think just seeing Darian living his life, getting mildly inconvenienced by the people around him, and that, I think that is inspirational for a lot of people who just want to get on with their lives.
Yep. They just want to sleep in. They're not allowed. No. Mum says no.
Yeah. So since we're already talking about Darian and Connor, we've touched on your love for Hallmark a little bit already, but how does Connor embody kind of the essence of a typical Hallmark? You know, the guy back home. Yeah. And in what ways is he different?
So, I mean, I always knew he had to be rugged, because Darian is not rugged at all. Darian is like, you know, he's that they're a very geeky kind of programmer who cares about like culture and stuff. So I knew that Connor had to contrast with that. And I just thought it was like all those movies I've seen. There was a new one I watched last Christmas, which had Court Overstreet from Glee in it. And it was really funny because they tried to get him to act this grumpy character. He was always wearing plaid and he was supposed to be grumpy. But as an actor, he's a really charming, lovely, optimistic guy. And I didn't pick up that he was supposed to be grumpy until someone said it about 2/3 of the way through the movie. It's like, oh, you're always grumpy. And I was like, is he? Is he? So I was like, well, you got to be careful writing a character like that, right? And I was like, well, I don't want Connor to be grumpy. It's not that kind of story. But I can put him in plaid and I can have him be a bit rugged. He runs his own cafe and he's a handyman. So that's how he's roped into the story. And then I just thought what I've described as Luke from Gilmore Girls. And then I just leaned into it and had Darian comparing him to Luke from Gilmore Girls over and over again.
Am I remembering right that he had the poster of Luke up in his bedroom?
They do have a poster.
Yeah. That was such a
Justin Timberlake. I think I threw Justin in there as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess I just wanted him to be this all-round kind guy, you know, a reliable person who you can go to, you need something fixed, or you need help with something.
Or you need a good cup of coffee.
Or you need a good cup of coffee, and he will give you, you know, those things that will warm you up in whatever way. So, yeah, I guess it's that kind of, you know, ideal kind of perfect kind of, you can imagine yourself sitting down on Christmas Eve with him and having a nice warm, you know, hot chocolate, and it would be lovely. And that's what I wanted to write. So I actually, and you asked about it because when I handed you this book to edit, I said, is there enough about who Connor is? Do I need to go deeper? Because the point of view is always with Darian. And I was a little worried about that, but you said it was all right. So I didn't do more.
So I just think lovely is the perfect adjective to describe Connor.
Yeah. You know, and it's wish fulfillment too, right? Everyone wants to meet this person who's just instantly lovely and will take a bit of care of you if you want it, and, you know, just be there and be interested in you. These stories, I think, are a lot of wish fulfillment, especially the Christmas ones. So
Fran has said, I love Luke, which
yes,
sounds like there's another Gilmore Girl fan there.
Luke's the best. Chris can just leave and die, in my opinion.
Let's circle back to Darian. We've already talked about, you know, Darian being non-binary and how that came about, but Darian is obviously, like everyone, more than their gender identity. Introduce Darian.
So Darian is a software programmer, and for this I leaned a lot on my work at TradeMe. I worked at TradeMe for 11 years, left in 2018. I was a tester and a Scrum Master Agile coach. Darian is a programmer, so what I did was I sort of filtered the things that I could remember loving and hating from working in that kind of tech environment into Darian, and kind of made them my perfect developer, because as a tester you work with a lot of developers. You've got to work very closely and you've got to have very good communication, and it's really easy to see if you don't have that, because you'll go to the developer and say, hey, I found a bug in your software, and they say, no, you didn't. Like, or, oh, it's fine, we'll just let it run. No, I got very good at sort of pushing back and being like, hey, okay, well, if you're fine with this bug, we'll just set it to production, and if anyone has problems with it, they can email you directly, and if I had a really perfect developer who was never like that, so I made that Darian, and I put in things that are kind of universal in my experience of working in tech. Things like Darian collects little figurines and has them on their desk to make it personal, which is very, very common in software development. One of my friends who's a software developer, for about a year, had a collection of Red Bull cans that just got bigger and bigger until it reached the ceiling, and eventually got knocked down, and he switched over to collecting Lego minifigures, and then that was his desk. It's just anyone who's worked in tech, I'm hoping, will kind of recognize that kind of behavior. So yeah, Darian loves being in San Francisco, Silicon Valley, but they're also at the start of the book in a bit of a rut with their life, which is another thing that I personally experienced in tech, where you just kind of go, yeah, it's a 9 to 5. I go in every day and I do these things, and I don't think hard about it, and I don't think about what else could happen or what else my life could be. So yeah, so the book is a bit of a kick in Darian's rear to get them out of that rut.
Yeah, there is also another universal experience that other tech workers will be familiar with, contained in Santa's sacking, and that is the corporation you work for being taken over by a multi-millionaire called Noel Ox.
Well, this is why I wrote the book.
Yeah. So tell us how Santa's sacking came into being.
Yeah. So a friend of mine, a very dear friend, sent me a meme, and it was just a screenshot of a tweet, and someone had written it. It must have been right at the start of December or late November, whenever it was, when Elon Musk took over Twitter and started sacking people, and everyone knew about it and how horrible it was. And they'd tweeted, think of all these, Twitter employees who are packing up their bags, and they're heading home for the holidays early. And what if they all have their Hallmark Christmas movie moment and meet, a rugged lumberjack, and they fall in love? And I was just like, she sent it to me and I was like, I could write that. And she said, please do, because I want to read it. So yay. I thought, cool, I'll make it into a short story. And then the short story went from 2,000 words to 5,000 words to 10,000 words, and Christmas came, and I shoved it out in an unfinished and unedited format on Itch. And I said to everyone, look, this is a draft. This is raw. It's not finished, but it's Christmas, so you can have it. And then all through January and February, I finished writing it and sort of padded it out. And so it's twice the length now, has a proper ending. And all along, my friend who had suggested it to me was reading the draft and getting excited. And especially because I called Darian Darian, because she has a friend who's non-binary who is called Darian. And she was like, how did you know? And I'm like, I didn't. I just chose that name. I don't know. Yeah, so I dedicated it to her. If you get a copy of the book, to Annika, who not only sent me the meme that inspired this novella, but was an enthusiastic cheerleader. Without you, the book wouldn't exist. So
I'm just checking my mail now to see if No, it's still not out apparently.
Huh. That's silly.
That I'm just going to check it within the Kindle app. So give me. Oh, actually, I will do this during the next question. But yeah, as Ada says, that's not a short story.
It's not. And I foolishly thought that it might be.
It's
Oh,
live.
it just arrived.
Yes.
Oh, yes, it says buy now with one click on Amazon.
Exciting.
Oh, very exciting.
Okay. No, I don't want to download it. I want to open it. Okay.
So I very cleverly changed the name of Elon Musk to Noel Ox and the name of Twitter to Bird Talk, which is very, transparent and no one can ever guess what I really meant. Thank you, Red Fox, for buying it through Amazon.
Yay. So, what was the experience of writing it like? Was it like living out your own personal Hallmark movie, or was it like you actually had to work at it?
A little bit. It was wish fulfillment because, as I said, I was writing it during December, and I'm not allowed to watch Christmas movies except for in December. My spouse has a very firm rule on that, so I binge like all the crappy Netflix Christmas movies and the whole, like everything I can, and so it was sort of this experience of imbibing it and then kind of making it my own and just writing it really quickly. So so I think it came pretty easily. And I think that's probably why it got so much longer, because I was like, well, no, because I need a beat where this happens and I need a beat when this happens. And, how is Darren going to resolve? Are they going to go back to San Francisco, or are they going to stay in this little mythical town in Colorado instead? And yeah, so I'd say very fun, very wish fulfillment-y. And at some points I was kind of just giggling to myself, like, I can't believe I get to do this. Like, it's so fun.
That is the writer's dream. I am so pleased you got to live that.
Yeah.
So I've got 2 more questions for Jamie, and while I ask those questions, please send us any questions you'd like me to ask in
Doesn't have to be about
the chat.
It can just be anything you like.
Yep, and you can also send us questions on the Discord. I'll check both of those. But the first question I want to ask Jamie is, it's actually a question of 2 parts. Did you have a playlist for writing this song?
Book. No, I didn't actually, but I would say that the playlist was all of the silly Christmas movies I was watching. So kind of, yeah. Kind of.
Okay.
I think I resisted mentioning too many Christmas songs in there. I think I just mentioned 1 or 2 at the Christmas pageant. Because I didn't want to I try and keep music out of my books because I don't like dating it so much. But also, having said that, it's a very silly thing to say because I very firmly set this book in 2022. So, no.
Yeah.
Yes and no is the answer.
Yeah, well, I was going to ask this for song, but what Christmas movie do you think would be the perfect companion watch for Santa's sacking?
Oh. So my absolute favorite stupid Christmas rom-com is called A Night Before Christmas with Night with a K, which is a weird time travel thing where a medieval knight is thrown into modern society and falls in love with Vanessa Hudgens. It doesn't have a lot to do with this book. There's no time travel in my book, but the knight character is really warm and lovely, and that's the kind of character I tried to model Connor off. And there's definitely that kind of clash between characters. So maybe that one. Either that or
that one's so random, but
it's so random. And they really set it up for a sequel, and they never made a sequel, and I'm so gutted. Also, it's in the same universe as The Princess Switch and The Christmas Prince. All of those movies are in the same universe, which blows my mind. And I'm like, because Vanessa Hudgens stars in 2 different series in that universe. And what I really want is for them to do like a Avengers Endgame Christmas mashup movie where they all meet and have to save Christmas together, and Vanessa Hudgens has to play like 7 characters.
Can you write this? Can you like
That's
do
my goal.
Yes, awesome. So we've been joined. We've been joined by Julie. We've been joined by Julie. Hi, welcome.
Hi.
We are interviewing Jamie about Santa's Sacking, their newest release. But the what was the other question I wanted to ask you? We've finished.
I
the
do also
quick
recommend the
questions.
stupid Quarter Over Street Christmas movie that just got released last year. I think he's starring opposite Lindsay Lohan, and it's really dumb, but it's really good.
Really dumb, but really good. It's such a great tagline. I'm going to steal that for.
You can't say it's like quality viewing, but it's so freaking fun. Like,
speaking of really dumb but really good, Tota is currently running in a circle trying to catch her tail. Hello.
Falling for Christmas. It's called Falling for Christmas because she falls down and forgets who she is. Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
All right, I'll be quiet about Christmas movies now.
Okay. So, well, actually, we don't want you to be quiet about Christmas movies because I've got one more Christmas-related question. It's really similar to the last question I asked. So, if you wanted somebody to have the coziest Christmas experience, well, the physical experience of that reading Santa's Sacking gives you, how would they do that?
Oh, I've got the perfect answer. Okay, so you would need hot chocolate, something really rich and delicious with marshmallows. Whatever cookies that you love the best, have those too, and apple cinnamon muffins, because that's what Connor makes for Darian. And just have, and a blanket and a cozy chair, and you have a great time. And then afterwards you could watch the 2 movies that are discussed in the book, which is The Muppet Christmas Carol and It's a Wonderful Life, which are the 2 best Christmas movies, full stop. No argument will be tolerated. Those 2. So yeah, that's what I would recommend. Snacks, hot drink, blanket,
muffins,
and
muffins are a separate category than snacks.
I mean, I agree. I don't know why I agree, but I do. I've never seen It's a Wonderful Life neither. Wow. Okay, it's black and white, which some people have problems with. It is pretty rough, but the payoff is very beautiful.
So
you've definitely seen parodies of it.
So Julie, Fran, and I, it sounds like all 3 of us have a movie night in our future. But yeah, I also haven't watched it, but it's been referenced so much that I'm pretty sure I know.
You've definitely seen like a Simpsons parody of it. And lots of sitcoms have done versions. I remember when I was in love with Michael J. Fox in the 80s in, what was this show called? Family Matters? No. Whatever show that he was in, the sitcom.
Ada served in a theatre in New York just after Christmas. That sounds magical, perfect. Ada.
Yeah. Scene shorts. Yeah. And, it's Jimmy Stewart and he's adorable. Like, it's just, and it's also very funny because it's very dated. Like he, the angel shows him what the world would be like if he had never come to town or never existed. And his beautiful wife has this terrible life as a librarian. A single librarian, and you're like, oh no, poor thing. She's wearing glasses. You're like, oh, how terrible for her. 1946, yeah, but it's got such a lovely story. The ending makes me cry every time.
Yep. Okay. I am out of questions. So it's time for us to do some reading.
Reading? Oh,
yes.
No. Based on a short story, The Greatest Gift. Yes. Yes. You want me to read from the book?
Yes,
Is that
please.
What you're suggesting?
Yes.
Okay.
If you are happy with that.
I am. Now, the first couple of chapters are very short. But I will give it a go.
I'm going to mute myself.
I'm going to sit back a bit. So, December 16th. Story time. Yes. Santa's sacking, December 16th. HR sent a message 20 minutes before it was due to happen. That was it. No warning, no build-up, no time to bolster themselves. Just a mere 20 minutes was all Darian was given, even after working at Bird Talk for most of their career as a software developer. No respect at all. Darian sighed and turned to Kathy, their most trusted tester. It was nice working with you. Just a month ago, they might have said that on the way to an innocent one-on-one with their bosses, and the two of them would have both known it was a joke. Kathy would have laughed. It was an old joke, one they would make all the time. But now Kathy looked haunted, bags under her eyes like she hadn't slept in a week, nails bitten to the quick and a sheen to her skin. Not haunted, Darian corrected himself. Hunted. She looked hunted. Darian imagined they looked much the same. They'd been avoiding mirrors since the Bird Talk sale. The new CEO, who was a known edgelord and right-wing tyrant, Noel Ox, a self-professed, self-made genius, who in reality was the first son of a family rich in blood diamond trade from the last 100 years. The company, everyone knew, was going down the toilet. The question had simply been, when? Darian picked up a battered old notebook they used for problem solving and remembering actions from meetings, and made their way down the hall to the meeting room they'd used 1,000 times before, well aware that this time would be their last. December 20th. Darian exited the Greyhound at the bus station. Really, just an old wooden shelter and a sign. At Snowfall, Colorado. Their Bird Talk branded laptop bags slouched off their shoulders, and in their hand they carried a large tote bag full of gifts that needed wrapping, the novel they'd been reading resting on top. Darian shivered. How had they forgotten how cold it got in Snowfall? They should have known. They grew up here, and it was December. No snow had settled on the ground yet, but soon there'd be a big fall, and the drifts would be everywhere. The light lamb's wool sweater they'd gotten through SoCal winters, just fine, wasn't up to this job. Someone yelling outside. It's fine. Darian looked around for their parents. They shivered again, nervous this time. The town looked so similar, just how they remembered it, with a line of shops on Main Street, Minnie's bar at the end of it where Darian earned their first hangover, ski emporium just visible behind it that was super busy in the ski season, but they had no idea how it stayed open the rest of the year. What if Darian's parents hadn't come? Maybe they thought it was the next bus, or something had happened, an accident maybe, or an emergency. Darian collected their suitcase from the side of the bus and looked around, trying not to panic. A taxi pulled out over the road, and behind it were their parents heading towards them, Bella and Don, looking just how they always did, but older, more weathered. It had been months since Darian had seen them in the flesh. Damn, they should visit more. Bella's face crumpled into a sad, sympathetic smile as Darian wheeled their imported hardcase, all-direction wheeled suitcase towards them. Look at you! Bella wrapped her arms around Darian and hugged them tight. Horrible business. You're better off out of it. It's been all over the news, that awful man. I bet it has, Darian said. Bella smelled of vanilla and cinnamon. Have you been baking? Yes. Darian smiled, comforted. Bella's baking was the best in the world. They could practically already taste the sugar cookies and gingerbread. Now, your old room is all ready for you, fresh sheets and everything. Bella let go of Darian and half pushed them into Don's arms. He hugged Darian even tighter if that was possible. We've even got a little project lined up for you to take your mind off things, Don said. A chill went down Darian's neck that had nothing to do with the winter weather. Ma, Dad, I don't need a project. Of course you do, Bella said. I was just going to rest for a bit, decompress, reassess, take stock, make a plan. How many planning meeting buzzwords could they fit into a single speech? Plus, I need to wrap my Christmas presents. You can do that while you help out, Bella said. We already signed you up, so you're going to have to do it. Darian was ushered to the 6-month-old electric SUV that they'd brought their parents while they were still earning big Bird Talk dollars, still futilely arguing their case. Chapter 3.
That is awesome. Before you go on, can I just say how much I love the... Oops. Oh, no, I do have my microphone on.
You do.
I do love the sentence. I was just going to rest for a bit, decompress, reassess, take stock, make a plan. That I love Darian at the start compared to Darian
Synergy.
at the end of the story. Yes. Let's keep reading. Do you think we can go until we meet Connor?
Yeah, I think we meet him in the next. Yes, we meet him in the next chapter. Or we can do the next chapter. Yep. December 21st. The Christmas market is featuring a nativity play this year with the kids from the elementary school starring. They've been practicing for weeks, and I think you'll be very surprised at how eloquent they are. Bella wouldn't let them get a word in, maybe to deter Darian from explaining once more why they couldn't help out with the Christmas market / nativity play. Darian had hoped to spend this, their first day in their extended holiday visit, in bed, sleeping, feeling sorry for themselves. But Bella had insisted they get up at 8 a.m., have a hearty breakfast of eggs and toast, and accompany her down to the site of the market. The town hall opened out to a wooded path that led to a gazebo. The market usually took place down the path, with some stalls inside, and hot mulled cider being served from the gazebo. Bella parked right outside the hall itself. I have to get to school, but I'll leave you the car. Go in, meet Gary and Vanessa, and see what you're needed for. Have a nice day, sweetie, and I'll see you back home. Your father will pick me up from school. Bella tossed Darian the keys, grabbed her bag from the back of the car, and was gone, hurrying up the road in her snow boots. Darian sat in the passenger seat and stared at the town hall. They contemplated just sliding over, driving back to their parents' house and getting back into bed. But then Bella would just do the same thing the next day and be all disappointed about it. Also, with the way news spread in Snowfall, the whole town would know when they didn't show up. Darian would be branded a no-good do-nothing who refused to help out at Christmas. It would probably be in the Snowfall community newspaper. Far better to go in, explain they had no skills beyond software and app development and foosball, and let them down easy. They locked up the car and went inside. Hello, my mother sent me? Darian cringed at how incredibly weak that sounded. Back here. The voice was warm, enthusiastic, and very like Bella's. Darian headed towards it. You must be Darian. I guess I must, Darian mumbled. A bright-faced woman in a fleece vest over a floral blouse appeared from behind a giant Christmas tree. She had a trim black bob with stripes of grey through it. I'm Mindy Park. I'm organising the Christmas festival this year. She shuffled her clipboard under one arm and held out her hand to Darian. I thought it was a market, not a festival, Darian said. They took her hand and shook it. She had a firm, no-nonsense grip. We're rebranding, Mandy said. The word festival evoked parties, fun, community. Market, well, market just says buy things. I suppose it does. Now, we need you to program the lights and the music for the pageant. Of course, you can just do it live with the mixing board, but your mother said you're a genius coder, so I'm sure it'll be easier for you to automate it all. Darian's eyebrows shot up. Oh, but I have no experience at all with sound mixing or stage lights. Mindy flapped her hand and commenced fussing. You'll pick it up in no time. Smart kid like you. I've seen what happened with Bird Talk on the news. Just awful. You're better off back here. Reconnect with your roots. Relax. That big city life is toxic after all. She started ushering Darian towards a booth to the left of the stage. Darian felt once again that the wall of chat was to stop them arguing. She'd called them a kid and they were 26 years old, but that was 3 topics ago. They sighed, looked at the booth filled with unfamiliar machinery and wires, and thanked the stars they had Wi-Fi out in Snowfall, and they could Google this stuff. They noted briefly that the Wi-Fi was strong and fast. That certainly hadn't been the case the last time they were in Snowfall. Mindy showed them the basics that she knew, pointed out the operation manual, gave Darian a list of the tracks that the school had requested to be played, and left them to it. The school. Darian assumed it was their own mother who had sent over this list since she was so deeply involved in the production. They shrugged off their coat, brown wool borrowed from Dad, and tentatively opened the paper manual. Mindy, the most beautiful man they'd ever seen, strolled in from the wings of the stage with a toolbox in one hand. He had trim brown hair and an artful amount of scruff on his jaw, broad shoulders and a chest that made Darian's mouth water. His eyes were bright, brown with flecks of something more golden, and he wore a plaid shirt over beat-up jeans and boots. Darian was reminded forcefully of their teen crush on Luke from Gilmore Girls. Mindy, the man, the lumberjack angel, repeated. Darian waved a hand tentatively. I think she went out somewhere. They mentally rolled their eyes at themselves. Way to state the obvious and make a brilliant first impression. The beautiful, rugged man's gaze swiveled to take in Darian. His expression of annoyance softened ever so slightly. Oh, hey there. You must be Bella's kid. Kid. The second time in 10 minutes. Darian rankled. I'm Darian. I'm 26, and up until very recently, I was earning six figures at a leading social media company in Silicon Valley. They sounded prim, snobby, and annoying, but they couldn't help it. Perhaps it was the pressure of the last few days, or the desperate need to do absolutely nothing which had been denied them. It had all welled up inside and exploded out in a manner Darian despised, even as they couldn't stop themselves. The man's eyebrows raised significantly, and he held up his hands in a hold fire gesture. Right, sorry, I didn't mean to offend you. You look younger than 26. Darian deflated entirely. Yeah, I get that a lot. Sorry. I didn't mean to snap. They rubbed the back of their sleeve over their eyes, just really tired. They felt dangerously close to crying all of a sudden, which was both more childlike and absolutely humiliating. They were not crying in front of the hottie, especially since they'd snapped at him. They swallowed the urge down and blinked up at him. I'm sorry. The man moved closer. Hey, you want to take a break? There's a really good coffee place a block away. I just got here, Darian mumbled into their sleeve, and then they took stock of themselves, tired out, emotional for no real reason, overwhelmed with being asked to take charge of something they knew nothing about. They dropped their hand, looking up at the stranger with what they hoped wasn't complete desperation. Just a little desperation would be fine. But yeah, that sounds great. My name's Connor, the man said. Come on. If we're quick, they might not have sold out of apple cinnamon muffins. Felt a little like sneaking out of school. Darian pulled their coat back on and followed Connor out of the front of the hall. They half expected Mindy to appear and tell them off, or even give them detention. Darian hurried to catch up with Connor's long, confident stride and walked beside him. Just, by the way, I use they, them pronouns, Darian said. They pointed at themselves. Darian, they, them. Connor glanced at him and smiled softly. That's cool. I'm he, him. Darian smiled. It was never easy to finding a way to slip in the pronouns unless they did it right at the start, or someone asked. But that had gone as smoothly as it was possible to go. They took a deep breath of the fresh, cold mountain air and sighed it back out, cold and fresh, with a hint of wood smoke from somewhere nearby. Last time I was here, there was no good coffee except the stuff I brought with me, Darian said. Yeah, this place opened about 7 months ago, Connor said. To be honest, it's my place. I run it with a friend. Darian's eyes widened. The look from Gilmore Girls' similarities kept on growing, as did Darian's attraction to Connor. He was handsome and he cared about good coffee? Really? Yeah, Connor smiled, a bit of a blush coming to his cheeks. I used to run a place in New York, but the city was so much, you know. They turned a corner off Main Street, walked down the small alley and onto 2nd Street. Sure, Darian said. Why'd you move here of all places? Well, the skiing's good, and in summer there's nice hikes, Connor said. Perhaps the most pertinent, my aunt left me a place when she passed. I'm sorry for your loss, Darian said. That's okay. We knew it was coming. It was horrible, don't get me wrong, but at least it wasn't sudden. We had time to prepare, say goodbye and all that. Connor exhaled slowly and stuck his hands in his pockets. My family that is, always used to come and stay with her over the holidays, and I was the only nephew, so she left me the house and enough money to buy the coffee shop and get it started. Darian nodded. That's awesome to have an opportunity like that. Connor gestured ahead at the cafe with Christmas lights festooning the window and a wooden sign hanging down that read Cool Beans Cafe. Cute name, Darian said. Well, we had to fit in with the aesthetic of the village, Connor said. There was another sign in the window that proclaimed fair trade coffee was served there, and another for free Wi-Fi. Connor opened the door, the act of which jingled a little bell. Darian walked in with a hushed thank you. The atmosphere reminded Darian of some of their favorite places in San Francisco. It was low-key hipster with potted plants on bookshelves next to worn paperbacks. There was Banksy-inspired art on the walls alongside a huge chalkboard with the specials written on it in a rainbow of colours. The tables were generously sized polished wood. The chairs looked comfortable and the whole place smelled of hot muffins and freshly brewed coffee. Oh, this place is bliss, Darian said. They felt themselves start to relax for the first time since Ox had taken over Bird Talk. Connor led them to a table in the corner by the window. Take a seat, I'll make the order. What would you like? Anything. It's on the house. I can pay, Darian said quickly. Connor fixed him with a severe look. On the house. Darian's mouth went dry and they nodded slightly. they had to suppress a sudden and unwelcome urge to say, "Yes, Daddy." That would be wildly inappropriate and possibly not the kind of thing Connor wanted or expected after meeting someone an hour ago. Darian didn't even know if Connor was open to dating someone non-binary, or even if he was single. Connor was staring at them. Darian was spiraling. He needed an answer to what Darian wanted. Why couldn't they just think of their normal coffee order? Sweat beaded on their temples. They pressed their fingers into their thighs through their jeans, and it came to them suddenly. Cappuccino would be great, thanks. Connor nodded, his expression relaxing into a warm smile. Coming right up. Darian looked around at the various pieces of art. Cool Beans wasn't super busy, but it was a strange in-between sort of time of day, not quite lunchtime. A scattering of people sat at different tables, and the soft golden lights gave the whole place a soothing feeling. Cozy. Darian's heart rate slowed. Connor returned with a couple of muffins on a plate and set a cappuccino down in front of Darian. It appeared his own drink of choice was an espresso with a cup of water. Something about that struck Darian as sexy, and they had to pinch their own forearm to refocus. Plans for the holiday? Connor was saying. Darian realized they had utterly phased out from everything but Connor's choice of coffee. But his question processed through their mind, and they nodded. Family stuff, and I guess learning sound mixing. Connor laughed lightly. Uh-huh. How long are you staying in town for? First thing that morning, Darian would have said no time at all, that they would be looking for a new job that started as soon as the new year, and that started as soon in the new year as possible and heading back to San Fran. But Cool Beans and Connor himself were making them feel more at home. Felt a lot less urgent to leave. Was it possible to start a new life here? Pick up one of their old pet projects and see if they could make it into something new, something profitable? They'd had dreams once, hadn't they? It was all too much to decide. They took a bite of muffin, apple and cinnamon as Connor had mentioned. It was perfectly baked, fluffy and light, an excellent balance of sweet and spicy. The soft pieces of apple released juice when Darian bit into them, and the top was delightfully crunchy with brown sugar. This is delicious. Connor gave an easy smile and nodded, utterly confident in the quality of his muffins. As to your question, I honestly don't know, they said. I just came home because I didn't know what else to do. Do you have an apartment back in Silicon Valley? Boyfriend? Girlfriend? Someone waiting for you? Darian looked up from their cappuccino and Connor met their gaze with a soft smile. That wasn't idle questioning, was it? Or maybe it was. Maybe they had no idea anymore how people had small talk that wasn't about code or best practices in tech or speculating on whatever new disaster Noel Ox was going to announce. No relationships to speak of. I have a roommate, but he's pretty chill and I wouldn't have any trouble filling the room if I chose to move out, which, I don't know. Sadness swelled within them, the reality of being without a plan, without security, without a home to go to when they didn't have, a home to go to that didn't have their old Justin Timberlake posters on the wall washed over them. They swallowed around the lump in their throat, picked up their coffee and had a sip, but it was still too hot and they burned their tongue. Trying to hide it so as to not absolutely disgrace themselves in front of Connor, they passed it off as a cough and set the cup back down. What they had tasted of the coffee was delicious, though, rich and perfectly brewed. Well, there's some nice places around if you do choose to stay, Connor said, some good apartments or houses or whatever. Darian smiled, pretty sure now that Connor really was flirting with them. Cool. Later, they walked back to the community hall talking about books they'd read that year and arguing over whether urban fantasy was better than high fantasy. Darian was pro-urban fantasy. Connor preferred Tolkien. Silly, light-hearted stuff that lifted Darian's mood. They spent most of the afternoon and evening with their laptop, researching sound mixing, and then the specific sound mixing equipment that the community hall had. Then they had to look up how to connect it to their laptop. Throughout the dull work, they kept on thinking about Connor and his pretty smile.
That was so much fun. And in those 3 chapters, we pretty much got all of the high points of Santa's sackings. We got the muffins, we got Connor, and wow, the second description. If Ada already wanted a muffin, but now she really wants a muffin.
If only we could have one so perfect every time.
Yep.
It's the best thing about fiction. The food's always good.
But yeah, thank you so much for the reading, Jamie. There's so many fun bits. I like it. The other thing that I wanted to say, I love the line, he didn't want to look like super desperate in front of Connor. Just a little desperate.
A little desperate's all right.
Yeah,
It's
but
right
we've
from my
also got
soul, that one.
Darian's anxious spiraling and how Connor can just cut through that. And
He's
yeah,
awesome, it's okay.
Fran says such a feel-good start to the story. Thank you, Jamie. I hopped over to Goodreads quickly to have a look
Mm.
at reviews, and you have got, I think, 3 4 stars, 1 5-star review, and everyone is enjoying the cute, cozy vibes.
Well, that's good to know. I've got a pretty good ARC team, but they don't let me know if they've done it or not. So I sent out a reminder this afternoon, so that's good to know. There it is.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Oh, lovely.
Yeah. The only thing nicer than like a cup of hot chocolate plied with marshmallows and a blanket is a good review from a reader. So
I mean,
if
I
you have,
agree. A nice review is so good.
yep. So yeah, thank you everyone for joining us. Let's congratulate Jamie one more time on the launch of Santa's Sacking. And
Yeah.
this has been also awesome fun.
Yeah, it has. I'm into this. I do this again.
Mm-hmm.
It's good to kind of spend some time thinking about how I wrote it as well, because I don't usually do that. I usually just put them out and then don't think about it again. So it's nice
Yeah,
to
we've
dig into
had
it a bit.
kind of a theme on our writing live streams of needing to stop and celebrate our
Yeah.
successes. And I was
Yeah.
saying at the start of this, while you were fending off wildcats, that it's really special to have the opportunity to do that with you,
Yeah.
especially
Yeah.
since you wrote and edited this book on the stream.
I did. Yes. Yep. Pretty much entirely.
Well, there is one more question I have for you before we wrap this up.
Mm-hmm.
What is the next book? What is coming out next?
So I have another story, another Jackson Knight story that has been 2 agents have expressed interest in reading.
Oh yes, yes.
So they'll get it first once it's been edited. And if they don't like it, then I might try it with 9 Star Press. And it is a rom-com. It is set at a fictional Comic-Con setting called Beacon. And
I get to edit it.
You're good to edit it. It is about a cosplayer and a TV star. And it's something that I think the prompt for it was something I dreamed. Basically, the TV star has massive social anxiety. He did not expect to ever get this popular. He goes out into the crowds at Comic-Con and gets completely overwhelmed by the attention. He's having a panic attack in the bathroom, and the other character who is cosplayer happens to be wearing a Spider-Man costume, and he says, "We will swap clothes, and then you can go out, and no one will know who you are." And from that moment, there's a connection. And Julie is saying, yes, finish that one, because she read the first couple of chapters. It is finished, Julie. It is with Gillian.
Julie, do not mug me for this book.
Yeah, so that will go to agents first. If they don't want it, I'll try it with the publisher. If they don't want it, I'll just publish it myself. So at some point, it will be out.
Yeah.
So
yes. I did not know this about this particular project, but can I just share something which is, this is reason number like 253 that I love Henry Cavill, but Henry Cavill has massive social anxiety, and he has an emotional support dog that travels with him. And the dog is a border collie, and she is absolutely gorgeous. He may have more than one dog.
Amazing.
But like, if you needed a reason to like Henry Cavill, he likes dogs.
Well, the dressing as Spider-Man thing is something that actual celebrities have done, specifically Daniel Radcliffe, because he can't go anywhere without being recognized. And he will dress as Spider-Man or the Mandalorian and just walk through like massive crowds of people at these events, and no one realizes till it's too late.
So I saw a meme floating around Facebook that was like, Daniel Radcliffe is at a Comic-Con, and he has to stop some villain from taking over the Comic-Con, but he's played by Elijah Wood, and the
yes.
villain is Elijah Wood, played by Daniel Radcliffe.
Yep. I would watch the crap out of that. There's also a very cute meme video or GIF of Andrew Garfield. And it's like someone posing with someone in a Spider-Man costume, and they're like doing the pose, and then they give him $20 and walk off, and he pulls off the thing, and it's actually Andrew Garfield, and he's like, yeah, $20. It's very sweet.
Yeah.
So that's that one. I'm very proud of that one. It's longer than this one. This one's just a short little read. But Beacon, I think, is about 45,000 words, something like that.
Do you know what I just realized? I finished writing my book discussion scheme notes this afternoon. That was a thing I had to do before I could start editing for you. So I'm going to start editing tomorrow.
Yay, Frank can edit.
Yes.
You've got time, because I'm prepping for Armageddon this weekend. So everything I do tomorrow and the next 3 days will be to do with Armageddon. I'm just so pleased that I'll have this for sale on Saturday. And so if you're in Auckland and you've got nothing to do this weekend, Saturday, Sunday, Monday at the ASB Showgrounds, I will be there, and my spouse will be selling cool soaps.
And it will be not just Jamie and their spouse. It will be a whole alley of authors.
We've got a whole authors alley. So Anna Klein will be there, Russell Meeks, Yana Middlestead. Who else is there?
And,
Kate Haley. Kate Haley. And Darian Smith. Yes, there's a bunch of us. So we're going to try out getting all the authors
Smith
together.
Was going, but JD, who is
and JD Evans. Yes. Oh, so just before we finish, I have some very exciting news, which is very unofficial. But JD Evans is recording the audiobook of Overdues and Occultism for me, and it is freaking great. They've only done the first 4 chapters, but I absolutely love it. Their voice is just perfect for it, and he's very open to getting feedback. So we've workshopped a couple of things, and
that is brilliant. So he talked to me about this briefly, and I know this is something he's been wanting to do for ages. So I'm so pleased that you're making it happen.
Yes, yep, and I'm definitely gonna get him to do monsters and manuscripts, and I'm currently writing Rituals and Road Trips, which is the 3rd in the Basil and Sebastian canon. So yes, lots of cool stuff coming.
So Julie finished one of her major to-do list jobs while you were doing your reading, Jamie. Fran says, cool. If anyone wants a preview of what JD reading Jamie's work might sound like, JD has a channel. I'm blanking on what it's called. Is it JD Reads?
I think it's just JD Reads.
Yeah, they have a channel on YouTube
Reads.
Where they read the first chapter of books by indie Kiwi authors, including myself and Jamie, and they are great.
It's so we're gonna have him on the stream at some point as well, but we haven't managed to organize it yet.
And we can't do it next week because both of you will be at Armageddon.
Yes. Okay, yeah, it's just called JD Reads. I'll grab the link and put it, because it sounds so good. Yes, videos.
So please listen to JD while you work on your to-do list items or your housework, or while you amuse the manic dog.
Wrestle with 2 cats who are adjusting to being house cats. Yeah. Thank you everyone for coming. This was tons of fun.
It's been so much fun. Thank you for joining us this evening. Congratulations again, Jamie, and we'll see you after Armageddon.
Yeah, I'll post some photos from Armageddon in the Discord so you can stay in touch that way.
Brilliant.
All right, have a good night.
Bye.
Bye.